Aloha and welcome to my channel. I have an interesting show for you today. Today we're going to take a look at the Southern California desert and a very anomalous and interesting museum that's located there. If anyone's from Southern California, it's just southeast of Glamis, the sand dunes, which we're also going to take a look at today. And I'm going to show you this museum. I want to give a huge shout out to the YouTube channel. It's been recommended a few times by my subscribers. I'll try to pronounce his name, but it's Chodchevlamste. Something to that nature. I put a link in the description if you want to check out his video that inspired me to do some research on the subject. But without any further ado, let's jump right in. So check it out. This is actually an image from the website from this museum. Now, if you go down into the deserts, I'll show you on a map here in just a second. I've got lots of pictures to share with you. You're going to see this history of humanity. It's an outdoor museum. Okay, so I'm going to take you on a little tour of this outdoor museum from the comfort of your home. And then afterwards, we're going to dive into the specifics of all the interesting and anomalous things that are located here. First and foremost, this is a history that is, this is a museum that has been dedicated basically to survivors of an apocalyptic event. I'm going to actually take this back just a second. So check this out. History of humanity has been built outdoors and stationed into the ground so that it cannot move, so that the hope is that one day survivors of an apocalyptic event would come across this museum, and it's got the entire history, from the perspective of like modern academics and whatnot of humanity. And basically, this is for survivors to remember the present day. This is for survivors to remember the modern age, just full of information that's written in stone. I do want to point this out. Check this out. This is really interesting. You're going to see a lot of North Pole symbolism, a lot of Garden of Eden symbolism, Hyperborea symbolism, etc. And remember, this is all from my own perspective. Okay, I'm going to talk about the actual museum and what you should expect if you want to actually take a trip out there and visit. But let's start with the name, History of Humanity. You see the double H right there? That's the het. That's the h sound, the H, the 8th letter of the alphabet, which is the double 8 or the 88. Now, I've already gone over this a few times in the past, but if you're not aware, the letter het or the H is equal to the number 8. And in ancient picture form, it basically means a boundary. It means an outdoor boundary or an outdoor marker, something where if you go past that boundary, you're entering into a new land. These are the pillars of Hercules, the two 8s together. That's what they symbolically represent, the ends of the earth. Now, let's take a trip. Mother Dragon, welcome back. Hey, good to see you. Mind's eye, thank you. I appreciate you too. All right, so now we're going into Southern California. Now, take a look right here. I want you to look. This is right where Mexico down here would be, like Mexico way towards the bottom down here. And if you look, the area where we're going to go is kind of right behind me. I'll zoom in just a second. But look, this is Glamis. These are the huge sand dunes of the Imperial Valley in California. And it's one of my theories that the reason these sand dunes are there is because the ocean used to come up all the way to this ridge line, all the way to this mountainside. So take a look at this. You see how there's a lake up here in the upper left-hand corner, way back there? That is called the Salton Sea. And man, you could have guessed it. It's a salt lake. It's an actual salt lake right there. So it stands to reason if that entire area was salt water, or the ocean used to come all the way up to this particular ridge before it started to, get sucked down into the earth and stuff and recede. It makes sense that it would leave a salt sea up there in the corner. So we can take a look at that right now. Mind's eye. Hey, good to see you, Mind's eye. All right, so as you can see here, this is the Salton Sea. Kind of resembles like a Titan footprint or something, right? That's what kind of reminds me of something like that. But anyways, let's take a trip down, right? From the Salton Sea, you can imagine that the water was once there, right? But then it receded and it left all of this beach, basically, these huge sand dunes where there's like natural hills and stuff, but the sand is just piled up. People in California, especially Southern California, many of us, I used to enjoy this, but we like to go out to the sand dunes and ride around and play around at the beach without the ocean portion of it. So let's take a look and I'll show you exactly where you can find the quote unquote center of the world. Now, keep in mind, it's not the middle of the world, it's the center of the world, right? So as we zoom in, you can see that we're getting really close to a structure down here. Now take a look at the shape. I'm going to pause it right here. Take a look at the shape of this structure. This is the entire outdoor museum, or most of it. I'll show you the rest of it here in just a second. But as you can see, we've got this shape right here that goes upwards towards the north. Everything faces north in this entire museum, just so you know, or it's oriented towards true north, okay? And then we've got this wheel in the sky type of symbolism, and just above that is a man-made unfinished pyramid with a church on the top of it. There's a lot of other interesting things here too, but you'll notice it does resemble some things. Mind's Eye, hey, thank you, high five. And Pima, welcome to the Good Vibe Tribe, Pima, good to have you. So it kind of does resemble the USS Enterprise or a starship, as well it should, because now this is from my perspective, but I believe that this is the blue beam symbolism. This entire layout is obviously meant to be seen this entire layout is obviously meant to be seen from above, right? If you're way up in the sky looking down, just like the Nazca lines, if you're up in the sky looking down at this, you can clearly make out what it is. And if you know what this is, which is like the Eye of Sauron, Sauron's symbolism from the Lord of the Rings. This is the blue beam, the blue pillar that shoots up from the world. It's the eternal flame. It is the light of the world that shoots up and hits the all-seeing eye, etc. Right? All the things that we talk about on my channel time and time again. Over here, you'll notice that there's a labyrinth. So we're going to check out that labyrinth in just a minute when I take you on a tour of it. Now, I lined up. You can actually line up the Tree of Life with this layout. So check this out. I'm going to bring it back a little bit so you can see this. Right? There's the blue beam and the Enterprise symbolism or whatever, right? But look at it. You can overlay the Kabbalistic Tree of Life and it fits perfectly, which is really interesting. Now down here, this very bottom sphere, that's basically the kingdom of our world, the physical kingdom of our world. And in that exact same spot is a pyramid where you can go inside of it. It's a little pyramid, and on the ground there's a plaque. I'll show you in a minute, and it says this is the exact center of the world, right where this pyramid would be, which symbolically represents Mount Meru, and then the blue beam shooting upwards from Mount Meru, touching the dome of the sky, where the all-seeing eye would be, basically, right? Now, let's take another look at it and see what other things we can see here. So up here, you're seeing that I started to superimpose the symbol for Shamash, the sun god in ancient Babylon, right? So we've got the Tree of Life and the all-seeing eye at the very top of it, just like we've speculated and talked about so many times on my channel, right? Oh, Laura Lee. Hey, thank you for your donation. I appreciate you too. Thank you, Laura Lee. That was kind. Now, this you'll notice that this is a very similar symbol, right? Hold on, I got to put my headphones on here so we don't get feedback. There we go. All right. So this is the exact same type of symbolism. Now, these are all artist renditions of the same concept that I've been talking about everyone with here on my channel, where we talk about the world axis, or the axis mundi, which is the center of the world, and a pole, a post, a column, a beam of light that shoots up and spirals up to the sky, surrounded by two witnesses, right? At least two. There's other beams and pillars in the area, but there's an anode and a cathode that cover this island. The blue beam from Mount Meru shoots up and fills our world with life and energy and goodness. And I believe, and I've seen it all over the place in my own personal walk-in experience, that I've had signs from the earth herself directing me, saying, hey, you're going to need to go to the North Pole for safety. You're going to need to get there for safety reasons, right? So that's why I like to do these. Some people will be entertained, and other people will get something valuable out of this, right? Something that might help them out one day, right? So here's some more symbolic elements. It's the whole keyhole symbolism, right? The key master. Who is the key master? It's the Janus symbolism that we've talked about a few different times, right? Big shout out to What the Flock TV. Thank you for all your Janus symbolism teachings. I appreciate you, bro. Here's some more keyhole symbolism, right? So on the one on the far left, these are artist renditions of what this cosmic alignment looks like in the sky. Whenever you've got this alignment where it seems like there's some sort of ionic trail that comes down to the earth, or as I teach, up from the earth, touching the sky, where we have a mini dome inverted on the top of our dome or our sky, and then a hole right in the middle of that one, which is seen over and over from the Vatican to Stargate. Is that what this is, right? Stargate, which is appropriate because this literally is symbolic of an actual stargate. Okay, this is the path, this is the highway that you take all the way up. This is Jacob's ladder, this is Jack's beanstalk. People go all the way up to escape the world where the depressurization point is, where the sky opens up during the neutral point of our electromagnetic polarity shift, right? That's a mouthful. All right, so let's check out the rest of this presentation. Now, when I'm done sharing this video, I'm actually going to share a lot of images that I've taken for you guys. So at the top, I'll rewind this just a little bit. You can see here that I superimposed another artist rendition of what that alignment looks like in the sky every time that we go through the plasma apocalypse. And of course, if you introduce the blue beam, I just put the glass breaking for effect because it symbolizes the sky falling, the sky breaking open, right? But you can superimpose so many of these ancient symbols on top of this one right here. Now, I want to just jump out real quick. I did call this museum, and I was actually able to speak to, this is actually a city. This is an official city, a little tiny city, population 2. It's a man and a woman, a man and his wife. I called there. I was able to speak to the mayor, his wife, and she was very nice. They're both almost 100 years old. Very interesting people. I would love to talk some more with them. Unfortunately, the mayor himself was a bit busy, which is understandable. But I gave him my number, and maybe I'll hear back from him in the future. So let's continue on with the video here. Now you're going to see it from another angle as we take a tour. Now we're in Google Earth, and I'm going to share with you what it looks like. So if you go above that sort of opening in the sky, the wheel in the sky that keeps turning, you know what I mean? That's also Medusa's face with all the plasma snakes that come off of it. You can see that there's this unfinished pyramid, completely man-made. I mean, it's very obvious that this is a huge man-made pyramidal structure. And at the top of it is this lone, tiny little church, this white church with blue doors. Check this out. We're going to climb the metaphorical Mount Meru here and journey to the top of the steps, which is, there's a lot of Freemasonic symbolism, stuff like that too. I'm not saying it was intentional or unintentional, which is why I wanted to bring up trying to reach out to the people who made this, right? I have a theory. Either there are people out there that reach up to the ether itself, and when they're being very creative and tapping into their creative side, thoughts and ideas, and especially those that are innovative creations, might seem at first to be independent of anything and unique to our own thought process or our own brain. But I have found that time and time again, there seem to be many creators out there who, when tapping into that creative ability or their imaginative qualities, are able to actually tap into things that others are also tapping into, whether it be symbolism or information, metaphors about deeper truths that we experience in our world, which is why I do that segment called Truth in Movies here on my channel. Now, do they know that this is the symbolism? I'm not sure. Are they just tapping into it and they're unaware and it's activating, like, you know, some spirit memory or DNA or something? That's possible. Could they know for sure and they purposefully built this because they know, you know, they have an idea that there's going to be a cataclysm? That's also a possibility, right? Let's check out this church real quick on the top of this mountain. Now, you'll notice right away there is a blue flame. That's what this image is, okay? This is a candle, a blue candle with a blue flame on the top. This is the eternal flame. The eternal flame is a worldwide symbol that has been used since the beginning of time. And it's supposed to indicate life and keeping that quality of life going, to keep that blue flame alive. The flame, the eternal flame, It's not always blue, but the eternal flame is symbolic of the actual flame, just like that movie Encanto, how they had that candle or whatever that brought magic to the world. That's what this is. It is the light of the world. It is the flame. It is various savior figures throughout multiple religions, right? And it's at the exact center of the world, just underneath the hole right at the middle of the world, the depressurization point, or the inner dome that makes the moon, basically. On either side, we've got the two witnesses, the anode and the cathode, shooting up on either side of that, right? So I'm going to let this play out a bit. We're going to walk around this church and check it out real quick, and then we're going to look at some other parts of this interesting and anomalous outdoor museum. Now, in the back, check this out. In the back, they have what looks like tombstones. 3 different tombstones or grave markers. All of them, you'll notice, that direction that they're facing, the direction that we walked towards the church, is north oriented, just like I talked about before, right? So we've got these interesting, what look like tombstones, I believe, if I can remember correctly, out back behind the church. I'm not sure if there's anyone buried there or not. And then I took a little still of this right here, because the church from this angle resembles a rocket. You know what I mean? Which is very interesting, especially given how often we talk about the elite of the world and those who have made the deal with the devil so that they can escape, so that they can buy their first class ticket and have a seat on many of these various rocket places around the world that have underground rocket facilities or spaceship facilities or whatever you want to call them, right? NASA, Elon Musk, various other space agencies of the world, independent contractors, private organizations and people and stuff, all preparing for the end of the world, all preparing for the depressurization when the sky opens and that window of opportunity comes when they're allowed to blast off and they can physically actually go to heaven or transcend the earthly realms and travel off into the fractalverse, as I call it, right? The Elysian fields, the heavens, etc., right? Now, this was really interesting. This is on Google Earth, and I just happened to see these stars. At first, I thought this was Orion's belt or something, but then I'm like, wait a minute, no way. Like, this is the daytime. And then I saw one of them was lit up really blue, sort of an aquamarine blue. I thought that was really interesting too, right? Oh, hey, Sarah's in the chat, and she said there's a song by the Bangles called The Eternal Flame. That's pretty cool. I'm going to have to check that out. And especially, I'm interested in the lyrics to these songs to see what they talk about, right? To see how it sometimes relates often to the plasma apocalypse. All right, now we're going to stop right here and check this out. I want to show you what these are. So these right here are these granite slabs. Now, this is a particular interesting. Granite is a rock that will last for a very long time. But I want to point some stuff out about this. It's a volcanic rock. Very interesting. The history of humanity, Het, the 88, written in granite, written in volcanic rock, just like this is a theory that I have, that the Pillars of Hercules are mountains that shoot out beams of light that create an electrical arc, right? Those pillars are, if they are mountainous and if they shoot out the charge that I believe that they do, it stands to reason that they would be a volcanic type of mountain, that they would be volcanoes that are plasma volcanoes as opposed to lava volcanoes. And it also might be that all of the other lava volcanoes in the world, if they go down into the bowels of the earth deep enough, that they can become plasma volcanoes instead of lava volcanoes. But anyways, look at the angle at which these are standing, right? Look how low they are to the ground. Now, I want to tell you a secret about these. When they were constructing this place, you can see the pyramid back there in the back. If you look closely, we'll make our way around there. But I believe that these, okay, first of all, there's a hole. They dug a trench, a deep trench under all of this, put rebar and stuff, solidified it with concrete. These things are stuck. They're not going anywhere. These things are stuck in the ground. And it seems to me that they did this purposefully with possibly supersonic winds in mind. When the world depressurizes and the winds start knocking things down and blowing things over, these would be secure. I mean, as long as the ground is secure, right? As long as the earthquakes don't shake it up enough so that it just comes out. And in which case it could fly away. But they did their best to stick these in the ground and keep them in the ground. And as you can see, there's all sorts of hundreds and hundreds of examples of all of these little historic moments that we have had throughout history. Now, some we may agree with, some we may not agree with, some I agree with, and some I don't agree with. I have another perspective. But that doesn't mean that I don't respect the work that was put into this, because I totally do. And I'm excited to talk about it because of what I believe it, it represents and what it also could be. Now, we took a little side road off to this labyrinth. I've talked about the labyrinth symbolism many times on my channel, and here you can actually see it's called the Maze of Honor, and they have the eternal flame right outside of this maze, right? It's called the Maze of Honor because on the inside, for a certain donation, they will actually solidify like a picture that you submit, and they'll make it a part of this like concrete maze that's also stuck in the ground, right? The concept is that survivors of the apocalypse, which I believe would be the plasma apocalypse, would stumble upon this, and the images would act like, when people first put tattoos on their skin, so that after they wake up from the apocalypse, and worldwide amnesia is kicking in all over the place, people can look at these images and symbols and stuff and remember where they came from, remember how the world once was. That's the whole concept for this entire museum. So the Maze of Honor, the maze is our world, okay? Our world is just like this, and it's a shifting maze. The walls of this maze are constantly moving about. Not over millions and millions of years, over huge expanses and unconceivable amounts of time, but shortly, quickly, all at once, within about a week's period, during creation events and destruction events. Whenever the world is terraformed, the mountains come up, or the mountains are made low, the hills are turned into mountains, and valleys are turned into mountains, and things change worldwide as oceans are introduced and removed. Alternatively, every other cycle, right? All right, so we're going to come back to that labyrinth. I'm going to show you this stuff in detail after we go through our little tour. I'm your tour guide. Hey, welcome. I'm your tour guide for today. All right, cool. So now we're in the very middle of this place, and we're going to walk over here, and you'll see that there's a bell, also solidified, buried. I mean, you can't budge this bell. It's stuck in the ground. This is a facsimile of the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia, I believe it was, right? With the one with the crack in it or whatever. Very interesting that they would have that here, that specific thing, right? And I have a theory. Okay, I've got interesting theories and ideas. Keep in mind, I have not talked to the owners or the mayor or the people that created this place. But if it is designed for post-apocalyptic survivors, what on earth would a bell be for? Right? When you come into someone's house, you ring the bell to alert them that you're there, right? So maybe this is acting as some type of like a post-apocalyptic doorbell for those who might be, in the area, we'll say, possibly underground. I don't know. I think it's a possibility though. Also, this bell could be oriented from east to west so that it sways in that direction as an indicator that the winds are gone, that the winds have disappeared and died down, and that the apocalypse therefore is over, right? Which is pretty ingenious if that's what it's for. That way you can have an indicator that it's safe to go up or that there's a visitor, right? Anyways, moving on past the doorbell, we're going to go to the middle. There's this little tablet, this little table, this rounded table. And in the middle, it's got the yin-yang symbol. It says the Alpha and the Omega, Museum of History in Granite. Literacy for a millennia. I thought that was really interesting too. The whole yin-yang, the sun and the moon symbolism and stuff like that. Night and day. All right, so as you can see, there are many of these ones right here that you're looking at. Some of these are unfinished, and at least at the time that the pictures were taken, they were still adding to this, right? They were still doing their engravings and stuff and continuously adding, and I believe that they have plans to continue adding to it, which I think they should. I think it's awesome, right? Now, a lot of people, when they don't understand something or it looks mysterious or weird, they're automatically going to chalk it up to evil and bad and it's all Illuminati and it's all satanic or whatever. I like to reserve judgment. I like to see what resonates with me and take the good and leave the rest for another time, which is what I encourage you to do if you'd like. Now, right in the middle, we've got this interesting stone. This interesting, I don't know if that's, what is that, like a sort of a pyramid shape with the top off of it. And it's really interesting that they have the church at the top right there too. But they have this. This is sort of a new Rosetta Stone. The name of this city is Felicity, which means happiness. And this is the Felicity Stone. On this stone, and it doesn't have like a whole bunch of like commandments or anything like that. It just basically has one. I'll show you more detail in just a bit, but it says nothing in excess at the top. And then they've got the same thing written on the other sides in various languages. The idea being that survivors could see and recognize, hopefully, one of these languages and therefore interpret the rest of them so that they could figure out the other world languages and then hopefully, go through the debris and be able to figure some stuff out. All right, so now we're going down onto the road and I'm going to show you this interesting stuff that they have off to the side. There is what looks like like one of those slides at McDonald's or something, those little spinny slides, but it's not. It's actually a staircase. It is a stairway to heaven. It's a stairway that leads to nowhere except for the sky. Why on earth would this be here? Well, the official reason, according to the website, is that this is a piece of history and therefore, it's legitimate, that it makes sense. Also, I would say that the mayor who owns this town and runs this whole entire museum is French. So he's French born. He's very proud of his French heritage. And the Statue of Liberty was made in France. And a piece of that stairway was no longer used after a certain point, so they sort of auctioned it off. And this guy, I'll talk to you more about him in a bit, but he was able to buy this particular stairway, and he erected it at his museum right next to what you can see is a chessboard or a checkerboard. Right? The checkerboard symbolism we've talked about many times on my channel as well. It's symbolic of the black and white space being the backdrop, and all of the little black squares would be the dark worlds, the dark cities, alternate earths, alternate realms that are all dark on the inside because they're covered up. Okay, so they create shadow and darkness, and therefore they have a point of focus inside a little nightlight that they all call suns. Anyways, the black and white symbolism for those who travel the universe and they're able to see things from that far away of a perspective that they can see all the little black and white dots everywhere. And then, of course, the stairway to heaven, right? This is Jacob's ladder. That's what this is. This is all from my perspective, just so you know. I'm not speaking on behalf of the museum people or, the people who live in this town or anything like that. Now, if we whip around to the side, you can see we're going to get to this pyramid right here in just a minute, and to that hand, that statue of that hand that's coming out of the rock. Here it is. Now check this out. We've got this interesting anomaly of this, this piece of artwork, I guess you could call it, right? This is supposed to be a replica of the hand of God in Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel drawing, where Adam is reaching up to God to touch him or whatever. And it's coming out of a rock. A hand of God is coming out of a rock, pointing in this direction over here. It's also a clock. I don't know if you noticed that. But over here, we've got the number 6, 9, 12, 3, and 6 once more, right? Oriented so that when the sun goes from east to west, it will cast a shadow from the tip of this hand, letting you know what time it is. It's a sundial, right? Which also can be very useful for a post-apocalyptic situation, right? Well, I don't, let me correct myself. If you have a sun, or a point of focus in the sky, it's very useful. However, in the post-apocalypse that I believe we're going into, at least to begin with, when we enter into the purple dawn, the purple flash, the purple mist, we transition into the red sky, and then we move on into the golden age, it is said that there won't be any shadows, that the light will be spread out all over the place through the mist, and that there won't really be any shadows to begin with. So, in that particular scenario, this wouldn't be super helpful, but it's pointing north, okay? There is a hand of God pointing straight north, like that, go there. You know what I mean? And it's also pointing at that pyramid that we'll check out here in just a bit, where that has the official marker on the ground that says the center of the world. We whip around the side and you could see the pyramid off in the distance over here. So now we're going to go up above and just take a glance at it. Sarah's in the chat and says, I think these people might know what's up. Hey, that's a possibility, right? They might. It matters not to me. It matters not to me. I see the truth of what I'm looking at, regardless of whatever the intentions of the designer were. I see something that means a bunch and is valuable to me and means something to me based on my walk and my research. You know what I mean? So here we have it again. I'll show you again. This is the pyramid complex, I guess you could call it, the trifold beam. Idiots rule. Hey, welcome to my channel. Now, check this out. This is not just one beam, but as you can see, there are 3 distinct beams, right? So these ones on the side would be like the anode and cathode, or the pillars of Hercules. They're shooting up their own. They're also creating an electrical arc that touches Mount Meru in the middle, right? So this would be the Ark of the Covenant, or the Ark the arch, the electrical arc that is over the middle island that has Mount Meru in it, right? And then, of course, your middle beam shooting up, and then that plasma reaching back out like Atlas, holding out his hands up to this circular object, right? That would be our sky. Atlas looks like he's holding up the world himself. It's the squatter man symbolism that we've talked about many different times too, that are seen on so many petroglyphs. There is that pyramid right there in the middle. And we're almost done with this little walkthrough. And then I'm going to bring up some pictures and show you guys some really interesting stuff with the pictures too. But isn't this interesting? It's all outdoors. So if you would like to visit this place, when I was talking with the mayor's wife, she highly recommends visiting a little later in the year so it's not so hot, because this is in the middle of a desert, okay? But if you can stand the heat, go check it out. Also, you'll want to make sure that you dress for the elements, right? You will be outside. It's all completely outside. I think it costs like $5 or something. You know what I mean? I read the reviews online. Unfortunately, a lot of people are complaining about the $5 that it costs to check this place out. You know what I mean? There's like a $3 donation and then like a $2 charge for, I don't know, some sort of walkthrough or presentation or whatever. I say it's well worth it. I've been to museums that are way more expensive than this one, right? And if you happen to be in the Glamis area, this is just a hop, skip, and a jump away, right? As you'll see right here, when we zoom back out to the prehistoric beachfront property. And that is pretty much it. So what'd you guys think of that, huh? What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take this down now that we've shared that. And I'm going to share some images with you. There we go. All right, cool. So now I've got some images pulled up here. And we're going to start at the beginning. So as you first get there, you'll see that there's this sign right here that says the Museum of History in Granite. And it says it's $3 per person. And then, of course, there's like the extra $2 or whatever. So total, it's going to be like $5. It's an honor system. So if you drop off your money, just like leave it in a box or whatever. All right, cool. Then we've got, this is the mayor. Man, I forgot his name off the top of my head. Hold on. Mayor of Felicity. There we go. Okay, so his name is Jacques-André Istel. So as you can tell, he's got a very French name. This is his wife over here. Her name is Felicia, actually. Felicia and Jacques. And they're very up there in age, and I would love to speak to either one of them. Specifically, I'd like to talk to Jacques. I like to speak to the elderly. I like to ask them lots of questions about things they've learned and experiences that they've had in their life. This is an aerial view of the entire place. Very beautiful. You can see the pyramid structure down here. Let's actually take a closer look. Now look at this specific design of the circle and the 8 points. Now, also, I want you to keep in mind, right? That these beams that we see in the sky, that I believe the ancients saw in the sky, these sky pillars that reached up and touched the heavens from the earth, connecting the two, right? That how many you see is all going to depend on where you are around those beams and your perspective. Because if you see two beams, but one is in front of the other, it might appear like they're just one. So sometimes people counted like a different number of these sky pillars at different locations around the world. So keep that in mind when we're employing comparative mythology to figure out how many of those sky beams there are at the North Pole and in the North Pole area. All right, so here's some more examples of the images. We've got the church. That church up on the hill kind of reminded me of that movie In the Tall Grass. Remember how there was that just random white church, that broken down tiny little church out there, right? And also, I wonder if there's something built underneath that man-made structure, like underneath that church. That would be interesting, right? Here's some hieroglyphics on that Ben stone in the middle. Nothing in excess. So that is the inscription traditionally above the Temple of Apollo in Delphi. So the Temple of Apollo is where the Delphic oracles would go traditionally into a cave, right? Where they said that there was like toxic fumes and they basically got high off of the fumes and the gases that were released in this cave. I have a different idea about that. I believe that there was still energy, inner earth energy that was resonant within some of these cavernous systems that weren't completely retracted yet. And so people would go down or send emissaries down in there And they would have divine revelation, right? Almost like as if you were at Mount Meru yourself. Here's some other images. We've got the church way up on this hill. It's sort of a pyramidal, like kind of like a South American pyramid feel to it, right? Here's the top where the church is, just as we've talked about, and they have a steeple on the top too, right? Anytime that there's a steeple, there might be a bell up there, I'm not sure, but anytime there's a steeple, steeples are lightning rods designed to keep the electricity away. I used to think myself that they were designed to attract the lightning. They're actually not. Domes attract lightning. Domes attract electrical energy, but a lightning rod will actually prevent it, right? It doesn't make it impossible, and it still can hit it. Now here's another view from the back of the church. Here's the interior of the church, which is reminiscent of a boat to me. It looks like an upside down boat, which is really interesting too. An ark, you could say, right? Made of wood. Very interesting stuff. We've got the eye in the sky up there in the top. Just a few chairs, not a whole lot of room or anything in there. Here's the hand. Here's that statue. So this statue is just way in the front, and it's pointing right at that pyramid. So let's check out that pyramid real quick. Oh, let's see. Let's see what this one says before we get to the pyramid. It says, hold on, I got to make that bigger. The gnomon? Man, what word is that? Can you guys read that? The gumen? That one's hard to read. The something of this sundial. Hold on. The something of this sundial points to the church on the hill at Felicity. It goes on to say, this is really interesting, this three-dimensional bronze sculpture is the arm of God from the creation painted by Michelangelo in the Sistine Chapel, Rome, Italy. A replica in granite of the painting is engraved on the first of the 8 History of Humanity monuments here at Felicity. The sundial times vary from clock time. The correct local time for this sundial is set at noon on Christmas Day. Isn't that interesting? Christmas Day, which is the day that the light of the world makes its appearance, right? The birth of the light of the world. So here we have the arm of God coming up out of the rock, pointing north, pointing in the direction that it wants you to go, right? It's trying to, that's what you do when you point at something. You're trying to get someone else's attention to go that way, to go wherever you're pointing, right? So God himself basically is saying, go that way, right? Towards the north, towards this pyramid. Now you can see it's also flanked by these 2 other buildings, sort of like a symbolic anode and cathode mountain. Here it is pointing directly at the pyramid, which has these sort of step ladder formation to it. Now, if we go off to the side, you can see another view of this pyramid. It's also got steps leading up to it. And this is a type of Mount Meru at the center of the world. This is the front part of it. Now, we're going to check out these towers real quick. I mean, not the tower, but that the staircase that goes up into the heavens or whatever is the Eiffel Tower stairs. And it says here, the Eiffel Tower was built in 1889, World Exposition in Paris, France by Gustave Eiffel. Over time, the heavy original iron stairway caused the tower to sway. 500 feet from the second level to the top were removed in 1983, cut in 20 sections and replaced by a lighter staircase. This section, number 12 of the original stairs, was climbed by many of the 100 million visitors to the Eiffel Tower between 1869 and 1983. Purchased in 1989 at the Château de Chavarny by the founding mayor of Felicity, that's the mayor we were talking about from France, a reminder of his native city. It was installed in 1990 as an outdoor sculpture, right? Very interesting and extremely symbolic. That's why I wonder if these people, I wonder if they have an inkling of the things that we talk about on my channel. You know what I mean? Because I'm not the only one. You know what I mean? All right, so here's the inside of the pyramid. On the floor, you can see that there's a marker right here. Now, I took a picture down the street from my house. Okay, just quick time out from California. Let's go to Colorado real quick. Down the street from where I live, they just started to build this new structure, this new facility. It's like a storage place, but this is their logo. I'll show that. I'll share the picture in my community section. Okay, but it's the exact same logo. It blows my mind. I took a picture of it the other day. Now it says, "Stand at the official center of the world, inside the pyramid." That is a command. Okay, that's not like saying, hey, you could if you wanted to. This is a directive. It says, stand at the official center of the world inside the pyramid. Boom, right? Now, there's two types of people. One type of person is going to be like, oh, they're just talking about their little pyramid that they have there. Just happens to look like a pyramid, just happens to line up with all of this cosmic display that we see across time, right? But I see a different option, that it's, at least I hear the spirit of the world singing the song of the world to me. So here is the staircase. It's a spiraling staircase. Also, it's very symbolic too. You'll see the spiral staircase symbolism whenever we talk about our truth in movies, because it comes up quite often, right? Most notably the scene in The Matrix, whenever all the characters are inside of that building at the very beginning and they're going down, and at the bottom of the staircase, you know what you see? Black and white checkerboard floor. In The Matrix, at least, right? All right, so here's that staircase. This is Jacob's ladder going up into the heavens. The Eiffel Tower stairs from 1889. Here's a little sign. The history of humanity. Now, let's check this out. I got to make these a bit bigger for us. Oh, it's too big. Hold on. All right, I think, one moment, I'm going to actually just make all this big. All right. Hopefully this works. Scooch. All right. We'll give it a try. All right, so it says, history of humanity. No man is an island. That's interesting. Remember No Man, Nemo, how we broke that down? No man is an island, entire of itself. Each is a piece of the continent, a part of the man. Each man's death diminishes me, for I am involved in mankind. Therefore, send not to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. And then they have a bell there. Isn't that interesting? Let's check out some of this stuff. Here's the maze. I'll show you guys the maze. This is the view from above. So you can check out this maze and what it looks like. I'll make it a little bigger here. Scoop. There we go. So there's the maze, symbolic of the world that we walk around in, traversing the maze, looking for the center exit point, right? Let's go inside of the maze. Now, this is what it looks like when there's not a lot of plaques in it quite yet, right? But people are having all kinds of pictures put up. Some people put pictures of their family. Some people put pictures of their favorite football team or vehicles, or just, it doesn't matter, because it's like the internet, but pictures, you know what I mean? Just random stuff, just sort of a collection of random memories of what life was like when we were here in the modern age. Inside of it, you can see the church on the hill. Here's some examples of people who have donated and put some images up. So they sort of, they engrave them. I don't know how they do it, probably lasers or something, into rock. And then they attach that rock to these like cement columns. I don't know how strong those columns are, but hey, if they last the test of time, then people will stumble onto them and see all of these images and wonder who and what they were all about. Here's that rock in the middle. As you can see, that sort of bin stone type of rock. Here's the chessboard. Interesting, right? Like, why would you even have that at a museum? Like aside from the symbolic value, the symbolism to it, as we've discussed, right? Why? That's not a part of the history of humanity, unless maybe you put some chess or some checker pieces up there. I don't know, maybe, right? And then have like a little, history of chess or something, but it's not. And it's right next to that Jacob's ladder type thing. Here's the arm of God that we were talking about earlier that they have. This is the arm that's coming out of the rock that's pointing to the north. Let's see. Here's some engravings that we have on the rocks themselves. So this one's going over like the Great Pyramids and Egypt and the Sphinx and ancient ruins and obelisks and stuff. And then here we've got like numbers, various introductory number and numerical systems that were introduced in the world. Here's another example of these plaques. They've got like the Great Wall of China, the Terracotta Army. Here's some more of them. Various artwork too. Actually, there's a person in the chat right now who is related to somebody that did these particular pieces, I believe. So they've got some art. Here's that bell, Art Bell. Oh, how interesting. Shout out to Art Bell. That's funny. All right. Here's the bell. Here's the doorbell. You ring this if you need to get inside, I guess, right after the apocalypse. They've got like the Mona Lisa. They've got this chick with huge fingers. Hold on. Let me check out this girl's hands. Hold on, look at these fingers. No offense to the artist or anything, but check this out. Look at those fingers on this particular hand, right? Those are gigantic fingers. I don't know if that's actually how it looked or not, but that's interesting, right? Those are some ET fingers. Then we got this dude, Henry VIII, who, I mean, I still see a turkey, like a turkey leg, right? There's the, what is that? Mandela effect, right? Where he used to have holding on to like a little drumstick of turkey, or a big drumstick of turkey, like a big turkey leg, but it's not there anymore. So they literally engraved an example, or a few examples, actually, the Mona Lisa's one too, of the Mandela effect. Somebody put up a picture of Gandhi. Somebody's a big Broncos fan, put up a Peyton Manning picture. Here's an example of like a dome, right? Now, imagine this, that there was no top to these particular structures at first because they wanted the energy to come down and hit the dome. But then after the conditions changed in the atmosphere and there was more electricity, then they put these up on top of it so it would not hit the dome. Possibly, right? There's examples of modern furniture, architecture, all the stuff that we have in our modern world. Some various leaders that we have. This is Chief Crazy Horse. We've got The Last Supper by Da Vinci. We've got various cultures across the world that have left their mark on our history, right? Even those things that are anomalous to us, like extinct animals. They've got a little section on extinct animals, which is really interesting because they chose to put this one. Like this is like a helicopter fish or something. I forgot what they call that, but all they found of the fish is like its lower jaw, which is like the circular thing. I'm not sure. I've got ideas about that, but I think it's cool that they put extinct animals up there, or allegedly extinct. This is one of the Delphic Sibyls or oracles by Michelangelo. The crucifixion, of course. There's a lot of, there's various flavors from various religions that are included in this particular museum, but you can tell there's a strong Christian influence as well. So here's St. John the Evangelist, as it's called. Here's another picture of that checkerboard and the stairway to heaven, which is really interesting too, because see this little shack right there? That shack, I didn't take a picture of it, but it's supposed to be like a train station or something, right? Interesting too, because we see a lot of train symbolism, especially flying trains or floating trains or anything like that, subway cars and stuff in the movies, which is a symbolic element of the transition from one world to another world, right? When you get on the train, when you get off the train, it's a transition, especially in the movies when they show you transitioning from like one age to another age, right? This is all about the ages. This is interesting. This is their tree out front, in front of the sign that is basically an arrow pointing to the sky that says center of the world. This tree looks exactly like my original JayDreamerZ logo. Like I thought that was an interesting coincidence. Hold on. I'm not saying it is, but like this was one of my original logos. Look, that's me. You can kind of see that, right? That I had back when my color scheme was like green and yellow. And this is my tree, right? This was my old logo. I've got like Jack's Beanstalk and a giant and stuff. But this is their tree that they have right out front. Like it's just, it blew my mind how, even I was showing this to my son before I even said anything. He was like, Dad, that looks just like your old channel tree or whatever. Now they've, the owner, the mayor of this city, Mr. Istel, Jacques, he is a renowned parachutist. However that's called. I don't know. People that jump out of planes with parachutes, all right, and float down. Very interesting backstory about all of his experience bringing the sport of parachuting to America and stuff. Very interesting backstory. He was in the Marine Corps, just like me. And, he was in aviation. He was able to jump out of the planes and stuff. I think he became a lieutenant colonel, if I remember correctly. But symbolically, they actually have people that parachute and land in this spot. Because if it's true, or if there's any merit to the idea behind the symbolic elements that I'm sharing, basically, if that is a blue beam and the eye in the sky, right? And it represents the area at the middle of the world. This place is called the center of the world, in a place that means happiness, right? Like the Garden of Eden or paradise. Then it stands to reason that you would have a symbolic element that represents the fallen angels or those who floated down from the sky and landed here, okay? I'm not trying to imply that those beings are all evil or demonic or fallen or sinful or bad or whatever. I am saying that's a landing spot, okay? That particular location at the middle of our world is a landing spot and an emergence place, okay, where beings come up out of the world when all the barriers go down during the neutral point, right? And beings from above can land, just like we can leave at that time. They've got some scientific stuff, the birth of the universe. Now check this particular granite slab out. Check this one out. So he's got the alpha and omega yin yang there, and it says, let me zoom in on this just a bit. Unless we destroy ourselves or succumb to a cosmic accident, our destiny should be on a path to the stars. Question mark. Isn't that something? Right? So just like I've talked about, like that church looks like a rocket, right? I'm not saying it is a rocket. I'm just saying I'm a very creative, imaginative being, and it looks like a rocket to me, right? And we've got all these stories about ex-world leaders, gods, mighty beings of power, giants, etc. And the stories indicate that they landed here or emerged at that particular location, and that one day they all took off and they disappeared all at once, setting their path to the stars. Oh man, I don't know why I did that. Hold on, I pressed the wrong button. All right, let's get back to where we were. We're actually almost done. And then what I'm going to do is take some questions and comments in the chat. If anybody has anything you'd like to say, feel free to get my attention. Then we've got like, some modern academics of what they feel space looks like and stuff like that. Imaginary animals are also included here. So they put like Winnie the Pooh, Babar the elephant, which is an interesting choice. A puddle duck or something. There's a Pegasus, a Sphinx, and then there's a unicorn, which is interesting too, because some might say that there's an argument to be had for those creatures having once existed. Maybe not Winnie the Pooh or Babar. However, I will tell you that the time will come again when animals can speak, that you can understand them, okay? That you don't need to speak dog or speak elephant or speak cat. Telepathy will be reintroduced into this world, which is the natural state of language in our world, so that we can all communicate and all understand one another, and therefore it increases the odds that we will have more of a peaceful time between ourselves. Let's see, this one's all about the animals of the world. So this is what you see here on the side. It's got a little octopus on the side there. This is like how language developed and branched out over time into all the various languages that we have. There's one here dedicated to mosquitoes. It says the deadliest animal, mosquitoes. So it goes into mosquitoes and stuff, which is really interesting. It's got the Arc de Triomphe, I believe that is, maybe, in Paris. It's one of those arches. I can't tell which one it is. This is interesting too. So check this out. It's got one of my favorite paintings, right? Starry Night. And then it's got Earth. See the Earth over here? But the Earth is a dome. At least it's here. It is definitely a dome, like a half of a dome, if you want to assume that there's another half over there or whatever. But I just thought that was interesting. They got the moon over here. There's a dome over here. Very interesting. The Earth. This is interesting too. So check this out. I'm going to zoom out so we can actually see this whole thing. Oh man, I can't. All right, I'm going to have to zoom way in. Hold on. You can't see it. Well, at the very top of this slab, it says interesting times. Nostalgia isn't what it used to be. Interesting times. And then it shows you, this is sort of a timeline, and then it shows you the population also rising as the timeline starts to rise, and all of these different accomplishments and things that have happened in our history, like the World Wide Web was introduced at this point in our timeline. A president resigns right here. Cell phones were invented right here. And as you can see, exponentially just shooting off the charts. This is what I believe the Bible meant whenever they were talking about the Tower of Babel story, and the gods, or the Elohim, looked down upon what humanity was doing with their technology and their advancements, and they said, hey, we better do something before this gets out of hand, because now, because of their advancements, anything they set their hand to, they'll be able to do, which means they'll be able to figure out mysteries and secrets that are not meant for them at this point in time. I'm paraphrasing the Bible, just so you know. All right. Anyways, also this whole interesting times thing. Check this out. At the very bottom down here, I want to read this to you. I got to make this big. Hold on. At the very bottom, it says, there's a quote, "May you live in interesting times," an ancient Chinese warning. That's a warning. If you tell someone, hey, I hope you live during interesting times, that's sort of a warning. Americans have always lived during interesting times. And that's another quote. I can't tell who said it though. So the whole reason behind the whole thing that I find interesting with this whole interesting times thing is that that's when the apocalypse comes. Okay? Simply put, when you live during interesting times, the world is going into flux. Things are advancing at an exponential rate, and that means that it's building up to pop. The world is building up to pop. The roof is going to pop out, and interesting times lead to peaceful times, that there's a transition between modern society, an apocalyptic event, and then a peaceful world where everyone has their own freedom to live however they want to in a post-apocalyptic setting. Now, they've got the reverse side of the Great Seal of the United States, which is an exact, that is their museum. Okay, this right here, let's take a look at it, right? This is the unfinished pyramid, Mount Meru, and the eye in the sky in the middle. I've done a whole series of videos about this with the Latin Annuit Septis Novus Ordo Seclorum, or roughly translated, announcing the birth or the introduction of the new order of the ages, or the New Age order, right? Order for the New Ages. Interesting. I mean, right now we live in an age that's filled with disorder, right? So however you feel about that, that's understandable and I respect it, right? I personally look forward to a new age, to our world changing and things becoming better. They've got some interesting stuff here. The Colossus of Rhodes, the Lighthouse of Alexandria, the statue of Zeus at Olympia. These are various of the world wonders, various world wonders. Buddhism is recorded here. Chocolate is also recorded here, right? What chocolate is. This is interesting too, because I thought about this, right? I'm like, man, I really like chocolate, but I have no idea how to make chocolate. So I actually looked it up because I think it would be cool after the apocalypse. This is just me. I think it'd be cool to know how to make chocolate after the apocalypse, right? And it's really interesting when you study how chocolate is actually made. You might not eat it anymore if you see where it comes from. It's slimy beans. And then are these seeds inside of this huge pod, this awesome fruit. Anyway, it's an interesting study. We'll check it out sometime. Witch hunting. The whole witch hunting, witch trials and stuff is set in stone here. The Mayan civilization, the Mayan alphabet is recorded here. And it says, the wall for the ages, at the central point for memories, Felicity, California, the United States, the site of the official center of the world. Now, this is, I mean, it all depends on who you ask, but I will tell you officially, I'm not sure how the United States feels about it, but I did look it up, and France, the government of France, has officially acknowledged that this particular location is the center of the world. Now, whether or not it is, I can tell you I 100% so far, I'll say 99.9 and leave room for error. I feel that this is definitely representative of the center of the world, of the Garden of Paradise, of the place where the Holy Mountain rests, of the throne of God, of Hyperborea. I could go on and on and on with various descriptions and names, right? The history of humanity, the difference between what we do and what we are capable of doing would suffice to solve most of the world's problems. There's another quote. And there's the Last Judgment right there next to it too, which is really interesting too. The Last Judgment is the apocalypse. That's the Last Judgment. Okay. That's the Day of Judgment. That's Judgment Day for, Terminator 2 Judgment Day type of symbolism stuff. That's when the apocalypse comes. That's when judgment happens. That's when the feather of Mahat rises up from inside of the earth and the halls of Amenti are opened up. That feather of Mahat rises up to the sky in the form of plasma, feathers out, branches out, dances around in the sky, creating all sorts of interesting shapes. And that takes us back to the beginning. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do is take these down, and I'm going to open up to the chat and just read some comments, just to be a part of everything and see how everyone's doing. It looks like everyone in the chat's having a good time. Another shout out to Hodkavlamste. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but big shout out to him. He's the guy that does the Crater Earth videos, in case you're wondering. Okay, very interesting stuff. I like his stuff. Right. All right. Anyways, let me jump into the chat here and see who we got. We got Sarah. Sarah Breslin is in the chat and says, JayDreamerZ, in the book 1984, they ration the chocolate. Oh, that's right. I totally forgot about that, right? Man, that's a classic too. And the book is so much better than every movie I've ever seen, every remake of it, as is usually the case with books that are turned into movies. Sage is helping out in the chat. She says, if you have a question. Oh, hey, Sage, just as a heads up, I'm never going to do questions when I do the Truth in Movie segment. So I appreciate your help though. excuse me, all the other segments, you could totally, let people know to ask questions or whatever. But that one, we're just going to do truth in movies. I'm going to do my whole presentation and jump out because it's a long presentation, right? What else we got here? We got Grooch in the chat who says, JayDreamerZ, how can we prevent in the new world secret societies from forming? We can't do this again. Well, here's the thing, right? I don't want to prevent that. Okay. That's not my desire. I believe that there is a time and place for secrets. Okay. I'm not one of those people that's just like, hey, let's just tell everything to everybody. You know what I mean? And let the chips fall where they may. I believe that people earn the things of value that they have. I believe that people earn them through testing and trials and tribulation, that they prove to themselves that they're worthy of certain information that can be, that's power, basically. Okay. Information for me is a power. It's a form of power. It's potential power, and it can be used to harm people or to do good in the world that we live in, right? So there's certain information I wouldn't want to give certain people or certain types of people that carry an opposing frequency other than that one that I have. So I don't know. I hear what you mean though. I hear what you mean. And I don't believe there is a way to prevent it. I believe that everything is cyclical. Everything happens over and over and over again. But what you could do is continue to study and continue to learn, right? On your own, learn for yourself the things that all of these secret societies are offering to the uninitiated, and you don't need to join them. You know what I mean? You don't need to be a part of them because you already understand these principles. And the people that already understand the symbolic elements, they would join secret societies and stuff, I suppose, maybe just for the fraternity or for the brotherhood or sisterhood or whatever it is, just to have some friends that are, maybe understand the same types of things. I'm not supporting any bad secret societies or anything. I'm just saying I'm not so quick to judge. That's all. All right, good question. Jumping back into the chat, and we've got Scooby-Doo. Ron Stone. What's up, Ron? Says, JayDreamerZ, have you seen images of the blue jet lightning? I have. They've come across my research from time to time. Kimberly F. What's up, Kimberly? Says, Jay, I'm glad you're pronouncing that channel name. I never know how to say it. Yeah, the G is sort of like a hard H sound in the back of the throat. So that'll help you out. That helped me out. I had to go look it up. Chocolate equals chakras. I like that. Mind's Eye. What's up, Mind's Eye? It's good to see you. I like where you're going with that. We also got The Last Generation who says, JayDreamerZ, have I ever researched Glamis Castle in the UK? It came up. I saw it come up during this particular research that I was doing, but I didn't stop and look around. Maybe it'll come up again in the future. Louis Martinez says, JayDreamerZ, give yourself a hug from me. All right, there's my little shoulder hug. Okay, there you go. There's a little hug from Louis Martinez. All right, cool. All right, does anybody else in the chat have a comment or a question about this presentation that we've just gone over? Grooch says, JayDreamerZ, I loved your answer. I absolutely know what they're about. I agree with information being earned. I suppose you can't prevent wickedness, right? I totally agree. So what happens after the apocalypse is going to be dependent upon the survivors of the apocalypse. So, as I always say, my best advice is clean out your house first, right? Make sure your house, your body, your energy, your spirit and stuff is all the very best that you would like to see reciprocated in the world to come, right? That way you do your part to bring a gift to the new world, which is yourself, right? And I hope that others would follow suit too. That way we can have lots of awesome people to hang out with after the apocalypse. What's up, Irregular Absolution? I see you in the chat. Sage says, JayDreamerZ, I'm just going to read you telepathic only now, which I have already when you have had those thoughts. So I have permission. Okay. Sounds good to me. All right, cool. Well, it looks like that might be it. We got, let's see, a Regular Absolution. Good to see you. I don't know why your picture's not coming up. That's weird. Terry Dawn says, howdy. Howdy, Terry Dawn. Good to see you too. All right. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. And that's our show for today. Right on. Well, hey, I hope you guys had a great time. Do go check out my book, Ancient Oblivion, The Plasma Apocalypse, if you're interested in this type of symbolism or the topic of the cyclical ending of the world, specifically how cosmology plays into it, and how the plasma that wraps around our world plays into it, and how everything is cyclical, and how there's symbolism that you can learn to read the signs that come from the Song of the World, from the world herself, vibrating and the frequency coming out of the world, and we pick up on that. And we can learn the secrets of the world without having to join secret societies and fraternities and brotherhoods and sisterhoods and whatever. This stuff is freely available to you. We just have to listen. All right, cool. Check out my website, JayDreamerZ.com. I got lots of special surprises in store for everybody on my channel. We're coming up on 100,000, which is going to unlock a special surprise for all of my subscribers and viewers and members. Until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.
Hard to fade away, but something's forcing me to stay. It'd be easier for me if I turn away to flee. But there's something holding on, the way being all gone. So